guys, and welcome to another episode of Degobabe, and I believe this is episode 18. And I told you that in this vlog I would bring you my theories and my thoughts and all of that on the latest Rogue One trailer. But before I get to that, I wanted to quickly say a few words about the sad passing of the wonderful Kenny Baker, who of course was well known for playing and bringing R2-D2 to life during the 1977 movies, and actually right the whole way through he was used in a lot of the films for R2-D2 for those movements that they possibly couldn't do via remote control, so they had Kenny do them. And in a way that even though R2-D2 didn't speak our language and wasn't human, he had very much a lot of human traits. And I believe that only for the wonderful talent of Kenny Baker that R2-D2 may not have been quite as lovable as he was. Of course, Kenny Baker was also known for being in the 1980 movie of Flash Gordon. And he was also in Time Bandits, an amazing cult classic and also one of my favourites from my childhood. He was in that, and of course we got to actually see him in that, which was fantastic. I think many people know that Kenny Baker kind of paved the way for a lot of actors coming up along the line who are of smaller stature. So I think people like Peter Dinklage, Warwick Davis. I know Warwick Davis put a tribute out for Kenny Baker. I'm not so sure about Peter Dinklage, but I'm sure that they have a great deal of respect for this man. And while everybody was kind of very sad about the passing of Kenny Baker, and I was myself, I was shocked when I heard the news, because the day I heard the news, it was posted on Facebook. A couple of days before, there had been news that he had passed, and apparently it was actually a hoax. Sorry, excuse me, I have a very dry throat, so I'm going to drink throughout this vlog. I'm going to annoy you. So it was actually a hoax, and apparently his agent had come out and said, no, absolutely not true. Kenny's alive and well. But it could have been a case that Kenny had actually passed and they didn't want that news getting out before family, friends, etc. had been informed. But in a way, I'm a little bit sad, but at the same time, I'm really, really overjoyed, because when Kenny was a young man, he was told he would not live a full life due to the fact that he's a little person. And that, I suppose, back in his day, they didn't understand fully the little person is just a little person, and that they're perfectly capable of doing absolutely everything we do. There's no difference. They're just smaller than we are. Big deal, you know? And he lived 82. I mean, his 83rd birthday, I think, was this week. And so we should be celebrating the fact that we had him around for that length of time, and that he gave so much to the entertainment industry during that time. As a result, you got these other actors now that are getting amazing roles. I think the days of people of a smaller stature doing things like elves and Oompa Loompas has long passed, and now are being considered for very serious roles in big blockbuster movies. And I think a lot of them, they will have Kenny Baker to thank for that. So with that in mind, I would like to dedicate today's vlog to Kenny Baker, to his family and his friends. And we're sorry to say goodbye to you, Kenny, but you had a massive impact, and I think you will be around for decades to come in the form of a very beautiful little droid called R2-D2. So let's move along after that. Okay, so let's move right on to the Rogue One trailer. As you all know, this is actually technically not the second trailer. This is technically the fourth one. The very first one, of course, is the one that everybody got globally. The second one was the behind the scenes featurette, which was at Star Wars Celebration Europe, which is now widely all over the internet, because Star Wars Celebration Europe were live streaming everything. Excuse me, and they did live stream that particular featurette. Now, there was another trailer shown at Star Wars Celebration Europe, which is not this trailer. A lot of people seem to think that this trailer that was just released is the same one that was shown secretly during the panel at Star Wars Celebration Europe. It is not the same trailer. The trailer at Star Wars Celebration Europe featured some footage of Jyn Erso when she was a child. And a lot of it is very similar after that, and of course it also featured Darth Vader at the end, as does this one. But that footage of her as a child is not in this new trailer, as you know if you've seen it. And I'm wondering now, after thinking about it and watching this trailer many times over, this is why I'm so late with this video, because I wanted to watch that trailer so many times over. I'm I'm wondering if there are going to be connections here, connections not just to the prequels, because obviously there will be connections with the prequels and there will be connections with A New Hope, but I'm considering that there are connections here that will come up with The Force Awakens. For example, showing footage of Jyn Erso as a child, and it was very, very similar to the Force vision that Rey had when we saw her as a child. And I'm wondering now, could there be connections there? Possibly, you never know. So I had to write some notes because there was so much in this trailer to try and allow to sink in, and I wanted to try and cover it all with you. So forgive me if I go off on a rant or I get muddled and I mess it up a little bit. I'm going to do my best for you guys, okay? So as we know, the trailer opens up on the Jedha planet, what we assume is the Jedha planet. And I think the first thing you do notice, if you're looking quite, I mean, at a glance, it's the Jedha planet. You see ships coming down, ships going out. But if you look very carefully, every ship that appears to be landing on Jedha is an Imperial ship. So they got Imperial transporters and they got TIE fighters landing on Jedha. So very clearly within the first few seconds we can see that the Jedha planet is in a lot of trouble. And of course it's confirmed 2 seconds later by Forrest Whitaker's character Saw Gerrera, who very quickly says that the world is changing, and he very quickly points out that their world is in trouble. So what I like about this movie is it really does look like it's going to be very like The Empire Strikes Back, and even kind of darker and grittier and very much like a war movie. So to me it looks almost kind of reminiscent of movies about Vietnam, so Platoon and things like that. A lot of people were saying World War II kind of feel to it, but I actually, from the trailer I see more of a Vietnam War kind of comparison. So that's it. We know in the first few seconds that there's a lot of trouble, and you know, the Empire are at it again. Surprise, surprise. I'm just checking out my, oh yeah, of course. We then see that Jyn Erso is being recruited to lead a band of rebels to try and steal the Death Star plans. But the first thing I do notice about Jyn Erso is that she is, first of all, she's a really strong female lead, played by Felicity Jones, which is really, really cool. And I like this. I like that this is playing out among a lot of the Star Wars films. We started with Carrie Fisher, who at her time in 1977, women were not necessarily playing very strong lead roles where they didn't need men to be taking them by the hand and, you know, like little princesses in distress and that. She was not like that. She was very much her own woman, very independent, very tough, and took no crap from anybody around her. And again, we saw that kind of with Rey as well, though Rey is kind of a little bit vulnerable as well because of the life she's led on Jakku, but she's quite street smart and quite tough as well. And here we are again with Jyn Erso. But I think, you know, we had Carrie Fisher and we've Daisy Ridley, and those two characters they're good. I mean, they're good at heart, aren't they? I mean, they're good. They want to do the right thing. Jyn Erso, I'm not so sure about. I'm not so sure about her. Obviously, we know from looking at the trailer that she has a criminal background and a criminal. She has done things like forged Imperial documents and things like that. So I'm not so sure that we're dealing with somebody who will be loyal to the rebellion in the end. I really don't know about that. And I love this. I love this thought that she could be actually working for the Empire, not for the rebellion. And I don't know what triggered it in me, but in the trailer there's that bit at the end when she asks, "Are you with me?" And they all say, "Yes, we're with you." And just her facial expression for those few seconds, you could take it 2 different ways. That facial expression at first... See, I've gone off into a tangent now. I've totally gone off my notes and gone somewhere else. Sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. But that few seconds, if you look at her facial expression, first you look at it at a glance and it says, wow, this is fantastic. I can really make a difference here. I've got these people with me. They're going to fight with me. But then there's something in her eyes that to me kind of said, ha ha, fooled yous, you know? So I don't know that she's going to stay on the rebellion side or shift to the Empire. That very obvious line by Saw Gerrera, "What will you become?" I love the way he says that. What will you become? It's very cheesy, but I really like it. And then the original trailer, they actually showed her dressed in what looked like TIE fighter pilot costume, but a little strange. She seems to have what looks like 2 katanas crisscrossed on her back. So, but that could be deceiving because that might be showing us the past. That might be why she ended up with a criminal record, because of that involvement. It may not necessarily mean that she's going to become that, but it's definitely an option there. It's definitely there, and I love the idea that she might be a badass who's not that nice after all. And she is an absolute scoundrel for sure, and the only other person we ever knew for being a complete scoundrel was Han Solo. And so I do believe they've kind of done a little role reversal here. So we got Cassian Andor, who Captain Cassian, played by Diego Luna, who is obviously kind of sent in there. It looks like he's actually leading the group and she's just brought along. But I think there's going to be a very strong chemistry there between the two of them. I think we're going to get a kind of Leia and Han relationship between them. And I'm wondering then if there's a connection from that. If the case comes that they do hook up, and I just have a feeling they could hook up, do any offspring come out of that? And if so, where down the line do we see that bloodline? Is that bloodline Rey? I don't know. But one other person I consider that bloodline could be would be Poe Dameron. Poe Dameron could very much be the bloodline of Jyn and Cassian. So, but that's just my wild theory. I can be completely wrong about that, but it's just a wild theory about that. So let me get back to my notes and get back to the point. All right. So I've told you about Cassian Andor. This is the first time that we did see it in the previous trailer, but it's kind of the first time in Rogue One that we really see the mass scale of the Death Star. You see that moment where the Star Destroyer kind of comes out of the shadows, and you know the shadow is literally the Death Star next to it. And it's the first, because I mean we know the Star Destroyers are absolutely monstrous. I mean they're literally cities, aren't they, on a ship? And you see 3 or 4 of them then, and they're like little specks under the Death Star. And for the first time I felt, whoa, this thing is really, really threatening. Because in the previous movies we didn't really get that full scale. And I didn't feel ultimately threatened by the Death Star or in fear of it. But I have to say in that trailer, I actually do. When you see the mass scale of it, it really does look so dangerous and so frightening. And I love those special effects. It's so amazing. Special effects in this movie are mind-blowing. And then, of course, then we're a little bit confused because there's the one thing I'm confused about. I noticed a lot of people were going on about, you see that section where Jyn, Erso and Cassian are flying through what looks like basically a planet around them is imploding and everything is falling in around them. And there's talk saying that the Death Star has destroyed Jedha. I'm not so sure about that, guys. And the reason I'm not so sure about that is because General Tarkin in A New Hope very clearly states that the first planet they were testing the mass weapon on that they had on the Death Star was going to be her home planet, was Leia's home planet of Alderaan. So why would he say that if they had already tested it on Jedha? It doesn't make sense to me. So I don't understand what's happening there, if that is even Jedha that's imploding or collapsing. There's been talk that maybe they tried to kill it with the tried to destroy the planet with the mass weapon, with the weapon on the Death Star, but because Jedha, as you can see very clearly as the Death Star passes over Jedha is maybe 10 times bigger than the Death Star. It's a massive planet, and for that reason maybe it didn't work, and I don't know, I'm a little not sure about that one. So I'm not so sure that the Death Star is responsible for destroying that planet or not. I mean, you do see it eclipse across the sun, which is more symbolism of blocking out the light, bringing in the dark. Beautifully done. Really like that moment with the eclipse. So yeah, my head's kind of all over the place with this trailer. It's an amazing trailer. I love it. I can't wait to see this movie now. I'm so excited. So that I wasn't sure about if Jedha had actually been destroyed by the Death Star. To me, it's unlikely. It's unlikely that it did it, because then why would they state that about Alderaan in A New Hope? It doesn't connect up and it doesn't make sense to me. So, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, Donnie Yen. I like him. Donnie Yen, who's playing Chirrut Imwe. I hope I'm pronouncing these names right. Chirrut Imwe, who looks like he may very much be an old Jedi. A Jedi who's refused to go into exile. A Jedi who's refused to hide after Revenge of the Sith, when everything just fell apart and Anakin helped Palpatine literally destroy the Jedi Order. He clearly is one who's survived. One thing I find odd is that he does not carry a lightsaber. Instead he has this kind of mast, the staff, if you will, that he uses to strike down a stormtrooper. And he's blind, but clearly he ain't blind. So he has the ability to see, I suppose, using the Force, which means the Force is incredibly strong in this individual. One thing I really am curious about in Rogue One, and I wonder if anyone else has considered it, because I've not really heard it. There's all talk that Jedha planet, and not the Jedha planet. Oh, the other name of the planet. I'll put it up here. The other tropical planet, which is supposed to be the home of the Kyber crystals. And the Kyber crystals, of course, are the crystals that help them, the Jedi, to construct the lightsabers. We've never actually seen a lightsaber being constructed in a Star Wars movie. We've never seen it. They touched on it in Clone Wars, didn't they, in the animated series, but we've never seen it being done in the movies, and I'm wondering if we will see it in Rogue One. That would be so friggin' cool. I really would like to see how the Jedi make their lightsabers, and I was kind of hoping that if the Kyber crystals are mentioned, and of course they have to be because that weapon on the Death Star apparently uses Kyber crystals, so they're going to actually play quite a big role in this whole movie. It would be cool for the first time ever to see the Jedi making their lightsabers, and to see how they did it and how it was done, and how Rogue One and Gareth Edwards, the director, how he would actually do it on screen. That would be awesome. Gareth Edwards, please have that happen in this movie. That would be brilliant. So okay, there's Donnie Yen. Oh, Casey, I'm crazy, I go off in rants. Then we got K2SO, the droid. He is so cool. I really like the K2SO droid. Very clearly he's not a rebellion droid like C-3PO is. He is a product of the Empire, because you can very clearly see in the moment that he speaks to Jyn Erso in the trailer, he has the Empire logo on the side of his shoulder. So obviously he answers to Cassian because he refers to the captain, and Cassian is the captain, Captain Cassian Andor. So obviously Cassian came across him and reprogrammed him and literally released him and freed him from the Empire, and now he works for the rebellion. But what I really like about him is, unlike C-3PO, who would never kill anybody, K2SO is quite happy to kill a person, very happy to kill a person if his captain says go for it, because he very clearly says to Jyn Erso,
"The captain says you are a friend. I will not kill you."
Thanks. And you can see there he's not going to kill her. So I love that he kind of has a little bit of an edgy side. He could be quite dangerous. I'm wondering if at any moment in the movie he is going to kill someone and we're all going to be floored, because he comes across as being just like C-3PO, being quite conservative, I suppose you would say. Conservative and kind of refined almost. But it would be really awesome to see his bad side come out and see him kill. I mean, that would be cool. I definitely think this movie's going to be quite brutal compared to the other Star Wars movies. I think this one's going to be quite brutal and there's going to be a lot of quite harsh moments, very harsh. I love that about it. I think that's going to be really cool. It's going to be very different to anything we've ever seen before with Star Wars. So that's K2SO. Sorry about the notes, guys, I know. I talked about already the Death Star passes over the Jedha planet and like the eclipse of the symbolism of that, which I thought was really excellent. Of course we got Orson Krennic, the bad guy. I love his costume with that big beige kind of coloured cape or grey cape that he wears. That's a man of power, isn't it? But he's director Orson Krennic. A lot of people were saying they were wondering what his rank was, but apparently he's director Orson Krennic, which sounds really strange to me. But I'm assuming that he's overseeing the construction of the Death Star weapon and the Death Star itself. And then Ben Mendelsohn, of course, is playing him as an amazing actor. And actually, Ben Mendelsohn did the most incredible entrance at the Rogue One panel of Star Wars Celebration, where he came in as Orson Krennic and he walked up the middle of the auditorium with the big cape and came up, and he was very, very devoted to the part. So I think he's going to be interesting to watch in the movie. So I talked to you again about the Jedha collapse. Then, there was a shot in the trailer where they showed the X-Wings flying into this kind of dark, misty mountainous looking planet, and I consider two things: that was Jedha, the aftermath after it had been messed up and destroyed. Could it be Dagobah? Would Yoda make an appearance in this film, do you think, guys? It's something I considered, that the rebel know that he is possibly in Dagobah, or do they? I don't know. That could be totally bizarre, but it just looked very similar to Dagobah as he flew in. At the beginning trailer, we got to see Yavin as well, which was really cool, because Yavin is again seen at the end of A New Hope when Leia, Han and Luke land there after escaping from the Death Star. So it was really nice to see Yavin and see it kind of on a bit more bigger scale, which is kind of cool. I loved that. I think that's everything. Oh! Except the main one of them all. How could I forget this? Darth Vader, of course, makes an appearance at the end of this trailer. And we only see him for a split second. And I think it's a lovely piece of symbolism there as well, that at the beginning of the trailer, you see Mon Mothma, and you see Cassian Andor in the rebellion headquarters of Yavin. And you see I'm desperate for words today. The star maps and that they have, they're on the glass with the green lights all over them. You see them again in The Force Awakens. You see them in A New Hope. I think you also see them in The Empire Strikes Back. So you see that, and then at the end of it, you see Darth Vader standing pretty much in front of this a similar thing, but it's red, very much showing that dark side of him. And I've heard kind of mixed views about Darth Vader. There are people who are very worried that he's going to be used in it too much, and that it's not going to be very good. There's rumours that Hayden Christensen will be playing the role. I'm not so sure about that, because if you're not going to see his face, and he's not 6'8", I don't see how that would work. So I have a feeling that they will bring in a very tall actor to play the role. It's not credited yet, which is also a little strange that it's not credited. James Earl Jones is credited as doing the voice, but there's been nobody credited for playing the actual role. So maybe they are going to surprise us with Hayden Christensen. I don't know. And I'm thinking now that Hayden Christensen's older and he'll be under a new director, if he is in it, that he might actually give us a really amazing performance. Because in all fairness, in the prequels, it wasn't his fault that he played the role the way it was played. Because as myself I was an actress for many, many years, you play the role the way your director wants you to play it. And everybody out there knows that, who's an actor. And so he played it the way he was told to play it. So, can't really blame him, can we? Have to blame George. All your fault, George. So maybe he will redeem himself. Maybe he will come back in this movie. And the other thing I've heard is that Darth Vader is supposed to be much more brutal in this film, and we're actually going to see his really cruel side, because we never really saw it. We only ever saw him now and again slightly choke somebody, but it didn't horrify you when you saw him do it, but what I have to say, I would like to see that. I would like to see a much more brutal, more sinister, more evil side to Anakin Skywalker. Because, at the end of Revenge of the Sith, we saw Hayden Christensen, when he walked into that Jedi temple, into the Jedi Hall where the younglings were, and he killed all those younglings. And it's really, really brutal. And this is only, not many years afterwards that the Rogue One story begins. Maybe 19 years, maybe. It's not a long time, really. So it will be really cool to see him at the peak of his power and really putting it into play, and seeing him maybe do some really nasty things. I think it would have a better effect on us. Since the film is so gritty and edgy and dark, well, surely he was going to have to be gritty, edgy and dark as well to match in with the rest of it. So they are my thoughts on the Rogue One trailer 2 #4. I would love to know what you guys think. Do you have any thoughts? Do you think there are connections there? Do you think there will be characters from the prequels who will come into this film? I know that Bail Organa is in this. He is cast, the actor, I can't remember his name's he was in Sons of Anarchy. He has been cast again. Possible Leia? Will we get to see Leia or hear Leia at some point? We may not. I don't know. R2-D2, no, maybe he won't come into it because Leia does end up with those plans. Oh, and the one thing I wanted to talk about, actually, I nearly forgot about this. See, this is why I have to have notes. The possibility that this cast in this movie will not survive at the end of this film. We need to know who finally brings those plans to Leia, and she ends up, of course, putting them into R2-D2. So we have to consider that Jyn Erso, Cassian Andor, the whole group are not going to survive this movie, which will make it really dark and very similar to The Empire Strikes Back. So that's it. That's my last note on it. I know I've gone on for quite a while. It's very hard not to when you watch these trailers. So please comment below and let me know what you think. Do you think the same things I do? Maybe you have different views. I'd love to hear them. So stick them below. Let me know. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to Degobabe and come and join the force with me. And we'll go through this together. And that's it for me. And this week coming, I have a really exciting vlog coming to you because I have another saber. And it's a really awesome one and I want to tell you guys all about it. So guys, that's it. I'll talk to you again soon. May the force be with you. Bye!